The primordial Surtr is undoubtedly one of the most intriguing characters in God of War Ragnarok. Whatever you thought of the Fire Giant's portrayal, it is certainly very different from the usual angry, burning, warring interpretations we've been getting in pop culture recently, especially thanks to his connection with Sinmara, a very deep-cut Norse mythology character. I personally really enjoy this different take on Surtr, but recently I had an epiphany that changed my view of this character completely, and I'd like to share it with you. Welcome to another page of the Midgard Chronicle, in which I share how everything about Surtr, and the Ragnarok beast for that matter, is all a huge allegory for Kratos' personal arc in God of War Ragnarok, or rather a warning for what Kratos could become if he didn't go through the arc that he did. I mean, even if we look on a surface level, Surtr and Kratos are both ancient, tired, incredibly powerful beings whose purpose is death and destruction, that are bald and have a beard. Of course they are the same. Okay, that probably is just a coincidence, but an interesting parallel nonetheless. Let's take a quick look at what Surtr is like in the game. We find him a completely broken, depressed man, aimlessly forging swords over and over, as the only purpose in life he sees is to be with his love, Sinmara. Without her presence, he is basically wasting all of his time without purpose. And of course, we know his intended fate is to die destroying Asgard at Ragnarok after endless preparation, but in reality, he doesn't care for all that, but is ready to die as long as Sinmara is safe. Now let's take a look at what Kratos is like at the beginning of the game. Much like Surtr, the only purpose he sees is Atreus, and much like Surtr, we know he is destined to die, so he dedicates all of Fimbulwinter preparing his son for that. And Kratos is ready to die as long as Atreus is safe. Already, we're seeing some very clear parallels, but it only gets deeper, especially the purpose aspect. We'll return to that soon. Now, let's look at the Ragnarok beast. Here, Surtr is a terrible monster, the personification of Apocalypse, who only has one purpose: destruction and death of his enemies. He doesn't care if innocents die in his wake. He is an unstoppable force with no empathy and remorse. Sounds familiar? This is Kratos, the God of War 3 Kratos. Fans like calling Kratos the Ragnarok of the Greek pantheon, and this is a very poignant way to put it. Kratos states clearly in the game that humanity's suffering doesn't concern him.
Let them suffer. The death of Zeus is all that matters.
And mows through plenty of those not deserving to reach his goal, just like Ragnarok. But more importantly, how does the beast reflect Kratos' journey in this game? Ragnarok is literally missing half a soul, the emptiness within Surtr amplified into unrelenting anger, a beast who cannot be reasoned with, as Freyr demonstrates.
He was not mindless before. See if he will listen to reason.
Yeah. I didn't want to listen.
Without Sinmara to balance him out, Surtr becomes a ruthless beast. And in short, the allegory in this sense is that Surtr is Kratos and Sinmara is Atreus. As was established earlier, after Faye's death, Atreus essentially became the point of Kratos' life. When the two separate, Kratos' only concern naturally becomes to get his son back. Without Atreus at his side, he gets lost. This leads Kratos on a downward spiral, seeking out the Norns, forging Draupnir, and ultimately killing Heimdall. And this is the moment. Without Atreus, Kratos started slipping into his old self.
I have been falling back into my old ways.
His God of War 3 self. I didn't bring that up for no reason. And as we can see, Mimir is not enough to stop him. Without Atreus by his side, or Faye of course, Kratos' tendency to furiously murder gods started to resurface. The only reason Kratos saw the true horror of his actions in Greece was thanks to Pandora, and now, without Faye or Atreus present, Kratos fell onto the murderous path again. Surtr is the ultimate warning sight to Kratos, where he would end up if he didn't change his ways. a purposeless, sad nothing that eventually turns into a murderous monster, regressing and repeating his Greek arc. And this is why the ending of the game is so important and so great. Kratos' entire arc is to overcome this. He is able to let go of Atreus, still keeping his voice and memory in his heart to guide him, so that Heimdall falling back to his old ways would never happen again. But also, Kratos finds a purpose. He had lived a recluse for over a century, interacting with practically no one. Without his close ones near him, he might as well stand there and forge swords for all eternity. But Kratos finds a purpose beyond Atreus, to be the general that the realms need, to use his godly powers for good, to rebuild with his allies. Of course, Surtr kept Sinmara's memory too, in a pretty literal sense, by having her heart, but instead of it being a comfort, it was just a painful, constant reminder of their distance that no doubt amplified Surtr's anguish in solitude every day. And so when it came time for him to become Ragnarok, Surtr's pain and anguish grew with him, turning into a mindless murder machine. It's not really fair to Surtr, of course. It was literally the fate of Sinmara to die as part of Ragnarok, and when Kratos learned of Heimdall's plan to kill Atreus, he started spiraling down to his old ways of anger and anguish, the ways of Ragnarok. But at the end of the day, Surtr chose to make Sinmara the end-all be-all of his life, and while Kratos could do that, curl in a ball and do nothing, he chose to open up and live not only for Atreus, but for all the realms, and most importantly, for himself. Unlike Surtr, who stayed stuck in his ways and tragically died like was prophesized, remained a predictable archetype as the Nords put it, Kratos learned to let go, move forward, changed his fate, and lived to serve a new purpose. Surtr showed us what Kratos could do and become, but Kratos overcame that, and that is his whole arc in the game. I have no idea if this allegory is intentional, but this is a parallel I noticed and I think it's quite beautiful. Thank you for watching and see you next time.